Thank you for joining us today for this Cybersecurity 101, 6 Ways to Protect Yourself webinar. Today's webinar is presented by ISOutsource, a modern technology consulting firm. Today's presenter is Kevin Allard from ISOutsource. Kevin has over 15 years of IT consulting experience. He's an expert in the cybersecurity field, and he's worked with many clients across many verticals, such as public sector, law, real estate, finance, manufacturing, and many more. I'm now going to hand the floor over to Kevin, who's going to start today's presentation. Kevin, it's all yours.
Thanks, Joe, for the introduction. Joe's our Senior Director of Sales and Marketing here at ISOutsource. And here's a tip. If you can back him into a corner and talk to him for 10 minutes, he will buy you lunch. And I use this tactic every time I talk to him. Well, thanks for joining, everyone. It's Cybersecurity Awareness Month, October. So in recognition of this, we wanted to hold this webinar and basically meet with you and our community of friends and businesses and see what we can do today. 6 steps, 6 things that we can do to actually protect ourselves. So let's just jump right into this. Here's a brief glimpse of what we're going to discuss today. We'll have some key takeaways, show the current state of cyber danger in 2023. We'll discuss who's a target. We'll look at 6 things you can do right after this meeting to protect yourself. And lastly, I know many of you have questions, and I'm here and I'll be happy to answer them. So let's start with some takeaways. Cybersecurity is now everyone's responsibility. Years ago, we thought the nerds in the basement took care of all this. In 2023, that's not the case, not anymore. You are a gateway into your organization, you're that doorway. And because of that, we all need to be on guard here. Personal life, our business life, it must be protected. In 2023, the lines of our business life and our personal life is blurred more than ever. Lateral attacks from your LinkedIn profile to your Facebook, those are happening. So we have to approach both of these vectors and protect against that. And cybercrime is constantly evolving. You know, attacks we saw years ago, antiquated viruses, Prince royalty scams, they're not the same as they are today. And I'm sure in 10 years, it's going to be very different. I'm sure ChatGPT will probably be involved in some nefarious way. So it's something that's always evolving for us. And I want you to think in layers, and we're going to get to that in a bit, but please keep that in mind. We're going to be talking about layers as this starts to go on. And then we're going to review our activities we can do today to protect ourselves. So let's jump into that. Here we have several pieces of data, up-to-date data in this infographic, and I want to touch on a few of them, but you can read along. The average ransomware payout is $500,000. So across all industries, across all verticals, when it comes to remediation, the actual ransomware payouts, the time that it takes to just get back up and running, we're looking at $500,000. 95% of data breaches are caused by humans. So there's no scripts involved a lot of the time. There's no nefarious viruses just hiding out there somewhere where you accidentally click that wasn't meant to be there. There's an actual human who is actively targeting you. And 95% of malware is delivered by email. As much as we all love living in Outlook day to day, this is our biggest doorway for attack vectors that we have. And it's something that we're going to go into detail a little bit more. So let's kind of get into what's happening. We've got loss of data access is a big thing we see. So when I first engage with a client, I ask them, how much money are you losing every hour when you're down? And almost every time I ask this, the client that I'm working with tells me that they haven't run those numbers. Please start running those numbers today. If you don't know that risk and that demonstrable loss to revenue, you'll never able to properly justify the budget and actions you're going to need to protect yourself. And your data gets made public. Years ago, ransomware only targeted the encrypting of data. However, with a competent IT strategy, your IT department should be able to restore that data pretty quickly. But now we've got a bigger problem, because now attackers are saying, hey, if you don't pay out, I'm going to release this information on the dark web. Personal information, financial data, intellectual property. They're just going to release that. So backups are no longer going to take care of you. Income loss. This goes back to data accessibility. How long is it going to take you to recreate that data? Do you think your insurance is going to cover that? 60% of the time, it doesn't cover the entire costs. There's remediation costs, downtime. There are things that you really can't quantify in the books to demonstrate to your insurance company, hey, this is what we lost. Reputation loss. This goes back to your data being made public. Do you want to do business with an entity that's been so callous in their planning for IT strategy that your social security number is on the dark web, your personal, private, family photos? And neither do your clients. They're human just like you. They're going to think just like you. Attack on your family and personal life. When your LinkedIn profile has your personal cell phone number and family vacation photos, now those lines of business and personal are blurred, and you have those lateral attacks. I can talk to you all day about loss to revenue, risk to your business, but in the end, what really matters is our personal lives and our family and who we are, and that can easily be destroyed with these attacks. Am I a target? Yes, you're a target. There's probably someone out there that's actively looking at your LinkedIn profile, that's actively looking at your business website, and is planning an attack. You're the doorway into your organization. You probably have parts of the keys to the castle: financial data, intellectual property, personal information. And why have an attacker just reinvent the wheel when they can just trick you? Because that's usually the easiest. And anyone can be fooled. Every single one of us lets our guard down. Every single one of us has an inner model of reality that doesn't quite match what reality actually is. And attackers know this, and they know the psychology behind how humans think, and they're going to take advantage of it. So, email scams, phishing scams. As we discussed, 95% of those attacks come from email scams and phishing scams. So generally, what do those look like? Does the email look suspicious? Has David in sales ever asked you for $1,500 in Google Play cards, or he won't make that sale? I know it's easy to laugh, but we see that happen all the time. Google is doing really good business with these scammers. Does the email ask you to click on a link? Hover your mouse over that link. Maybe it's not the best idea to click on us-bank-totally-real-site.info. It may not be a real bank. Did this email originate from a domain outside your organization? Anyone can create a Gmail account and put Kevin Allard in the display name. That doesn't mean it's from me. This is an ever-increasing attack vector. Does this email tell you to act fast? This goes back to psychology. When you're told to act fast, your developed frontal cortex doesn't have enough time to analyze that threat. Instead our primal instincts kick in, right? Fight or flight. Delete the email or click on it. So, what can we do to protect our identity? Never use the same usernames and passwords for different services. So let's take this for example. You create an account for cutefunnycatvideos.org to get your daily fix of kitties in wonderful, wonderful poses and funny outfits. And if you're not doing that, you should probably reprioritize your free time. So cutefunnycatvideos.org is a little bit lacking their IT security. Their database is exposed to the internet. It's not been updated. So an attacker exploits a flaw that's been around for 6 months. They've got your username and password for the site. So they take that, they put it in a notepad file, and they run an automated script against tens of thousands of websites. Amazon, Google, Facebook, Target, Dropbox. If you reuse that anywhere, they're gonna log in and they're gonna have access to another service you use. Use MFA everywhere. You know how Frank's Hot Sauce has that slogan, I put that stuff on everything? Make MFA your hot sauce. When you think of multi-factor authentication, think hot sauce, hot sauce. Identity verification can be a few things. It can be something you know, like a password, something you have, like an MFA key, or something you are, your Face ID, your biometrics. Using these in tandem will ensure a password leak is, like we like to call in the industry, the technical term, a no biggie. That's the real world technical jargon. Use longer passwords created by a password generator. If you're in the Apple ecosystem, there's a great password generator that syncs between all your devices and requires biometrics. There is KeePass, Keeper, the list goes on and on. Use a separate admin account. If I'm on my computer and I'm logged in as a regular user account, if an attacker is able to compromise me, they can't elevate their request for admin action. So if there's an exploit that needs an admin identity, they're not going to be able to increase their attack. Never ever share usernames or passwords. Besides the risk it poses from having too many hands in the pot, it makes auditing and identification almost impossible. You said you didn't let the attacker into your business. How do I know that when the entire financial department is sharing the same username and password? Like, who's culpable, right? When your legal team has to file a report with the state, maybe you don't want your name on there because you shared a password and share some culpability. So don't commingle personal business devices without the proper policies. So unless you've got a robust IT department that has policies in place, make sure you use a separate device for business and personal. Keep up to date, patching, anti-malware, viruses. I think we all see the zero-day exploits in the news that says, hey, Apple says patch now. Make sure you patch now. That's a ever-increasing attack vector. Use a monitoring service, dark web monitoring service, firewall monitoring service. Depending on how your organization is structured, there are different types of monitoring services, and it's a great idea to start investigating them, especially when it comes to intrusion detection and mitigation. Personal authentication. Make sure that any device you have has some way of identifying you and logging in. Don't just let anyone be able to have physical access to your device and get your data. Once again, hot sauce, multi-factor authentication, anywhere you can find it, put it on there. Make sure your phone auto lock, use Face ID, make sure your data is encrypted. If you're on Windows, use BitLocker. If you're on Mac, use FileVault. Do you know where your data is? When I first meet with a client, I generally ask this question. I'm not sure if I've ever fully had a comprehensive and accurate answer. And the first step in any meaningful compliance is identifying where your data is so you can actually scope and protect it. You know, do you have data in a software as a service? Is it in Dropbox? Is it Salesforce? Is it Amazon Web Services, QuickBooks Online? You know, what type of that data is stored in the cloud? Is that personal information, social security number? You know, who has that? You know, what data do you have in the office? Do you have a server? Is that server in a secure environment? Have you ever arrived at your office at 7 a.m. and seen your server gone? I have clients that have had that. Theft happens, fire, floods happen as well. How's your data stored? Is that data encrypted at rest on the hard drive? Is it encrypted in transit when you're accessing it remotely? What compliances do you need to abide by when it comes to that? And how is that data protected? Is it backed up? Is there an audit trail? Do you have a monitoring service? Did someone just get a text message that 100 gigabytes of data has been exfiltrated in 10 minutes? You know what? It may be an attack. You may need to get on that. I had a vendor right here in Portland, a data center, SOC compliant data center, big name. They got ransomware, but because their backups were not offline or offsite, all of their client data was encrypted. So I had a very heated conversation with their VP that day, and I spoke a lot of French to him. And I can be very fluent in French when it comes to advocating for our clients that we work with. What happens if there is a data breach, data loss? What's your incident response plan look like? Where's your playbook? If these words are foreign to you, please don't sleep well tonight. I know the attackers who are focused on your organization, they're sleeping just fine because you don't have a playbook, and they're gonna, they're gonna make use of that. So, ensure all your users are trained. At least once a year, ensure your staff attends a cybersecurity training, if only to check the box on your cybersecurity form. Make sure your organization has policies. Ensure your staff knows these policies. Technology really is only part of the equation when we talk about security and compliance. Conduct user testing. Use a phishing campaign service. Know the weak links in your organization, because these users are your biggest risk and they're going to be that gateway. And if you don't have eyes on them, you're just leaving the front door unlocked. Business apps and SaaS. Ensure your users know where your data is stored, how to properly access it. And that goes with not sharing passwords, or maybe not using that dubious hotel Wi-Fi to access a SaaS service. IT administrators, know your application capabilities. If you have an Office 365 setup and you've never changed the defaults, you have a plethora of attack vectors that are just totally off your radar, and you need to look at that. Ensure you're up to date with on your operating systems. Ensure you're up to date on your phones. We all see the news, patch now, vulnerability, 10 out of 10. So please keep up with the news, keep up with alerts on your phone, on your computer, make sure you're up to date. And leverage your tool set, understand the power and capability of your security tools and what they can bring. Because if you're not using them to the full extent, you're just wasting money. So prepare for what if. Know your risks. Prepare yourself, your users, and family. This is all of us. We all need to be involved in this and have eyes on this. What do you do if your data is lost, crypto locked, corrupted? And that goes into a plan. Business continuity plan. How do we keep our business open when there's an attack? How do we make sure that we're not losing tens of thousands of dollars in revenue every hour that we're down? That's why it's important to quantify that. Disaster recovery. How are we getting back up? Do we have offsite somewhere? Do we have another colo data facility that we can spin up? Do we have on our personal lives, if our Apple account's been hacked, do we have a backup on a hard drive or Google or photos that we can get? And an instant response plan, a playbook. It's like the Ghostbusters say, who are you going to call? Well, you may have to call your lawyer if you're in a certain state and there's a breach. Hopefully, you're going to call your IT department. These are the things that you need to know in an instant response plan: who to call, what to do, what's that playbook. It should be from start to finish. You should have that. And if you don't have that, you're just going to be wasting time and money, and the mitigations may not even be able to happen if you don't have that. Insurance is great. We need insurance when it comes to cybersecurity. Most policy adjusters and most policies, they have a plan there. It's not 100% perfect. The payouts aren't 100%, but still it lessens the impact of an attack. And this comes to the most important point in the presentation. If I can't have you only remember one thing, I would like you to look at the slide and let it sink in a little bit. So this is the Swiss cheese model. And this model isn't unique to cybersecurity. Next time you're on an airplane, thank the Swiss cheese model for keeping your airplane in the air. Think about this. You've got a nice slice of wonderful farm-raised organic sliced cheese, right? It's got a lot of holes in it, and you can see all the way through those holes. Well, when you look at a pack of Swiss cheese with all those slices there, what happens to those holes? They go away at some point. These holes get plugged up. Each slice of cheese in our model is a layer of protection, and all those slices have to work together for you. A couple of years ago, I know we all experienced a little pandemic, and the CDC gave us all a bunch of guidelines, right, to protect ourselves. Wear a mask, stay 6 feet apart, wash your hands, stay home if you're sick, get enough sleep, eat right, so you give your immune system a fighting chance. Some critics have said, well, just wearing a mask is not going to do anything. Oh, washing your hands, it's airborne. And you know what? Those criticisms are valid, but what those critics usually fail to realize, they're just slices of cheese. They all have to work together. That's why the CDC gave us this list. Do it all together. Just like security here. Firewalls, AV filtering, training, policies, endpoint protection, all layers. But let's look at that last layer. So on the very, very far right, that's you. I had a client who was emailed an invoice. It was a fake invoice for $80,000. They said, hey, you need to pay this today or we're going to up the interest charges. We need this now. Once again, frontal cortex doesn't kick in, act now. The accounts payable wired $80,000 to China, and that money was just gone. I can recommend you firewalls and state-of-the-art antivirus and artificial intelligence monitoring and scanning, but the last layer of security is you. Nothing I have in my toolbox, any Fortune 500 company has in their toolbox, could prevent the scenario I just told you. And it's real, and it happens daily, and it's scary. So, protect your identity. Ensure your user accounts are protected. Unique usernames and passwords, MFA on everything. Protect your devices. Control access, patching, anti-malware. Protect your data. Inventory it. Know where it is. If you don't know where it is, it's not protected. Protect your users. Yearly cybersecurity training, phishing campaigns, policies that protect them. And prepare for the what ifs. Know your risk and create those contingency plans. Have a playbook, disaster recovery plan. Know how much revenue you're losing per hour and use that to justify in your budget setting up an offsite backup, setting up a colo that you can easily spin up your environment in. Cybersecurity, it's everyone's responsibility. Yeah, those nerds in the basement, they're not going to protect you 100%. Your business and personal life must be protected. They are inevitably intertwined today. Remember the 5 things you can do to protect yourself now. Layered security, have a Swiss cheese on your mind for the rest of the day. If it takes a delicious Swiss cheese mushroom burger, so be it. You're not going to represent yourself in court. You hire an attorney. You're not going to do your taxes for your complicated business. You're going to hire a CPA. It's the same thing in IT. Get a professional. Get people that have been doing this day in and day out and that nerd out and read about this. And it's not hyperbole. Don't look at the news. This happens all the time, and the only thing that you're going to be able to do to protect yourselves is take these takeaways, form a contingency plan, know where your data is, and every day it's a constant battle, and work with someone who's going to be an advocate for you and be on your side and champion your business, your family, and your life. Don't be a statistic. I know it's a cliche, but this is all very, very preventable.